The Omicron variant is here, but not the Omicron Persei 8 variant. That's going to come much, much later. But we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there, including Biden getting his dick slapped for banning travel from Africa. In other news, several schools and employers hold debriefing centers for people to deal with the verdict from the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And I'm not even joking. That's actually happening. I would guess if it was just the College Fix we were talking about, maybe that would be a parody thing, but we also have one from the Daily Mail, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. The Department of Transportation gets raked over the coals for the fact that the left can't meme. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. And the Supreme Court may be considering the GOP lawmakers' right to defend North Carolina's voting laws. It's going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and my God, did they cram a bunch of shit in over the weekend here. I mean, I understand we had 5 left over from Friday's show, but my goodness. At some point, it used to be that they didn't put a lot of stuff in the weekend, or they tried to hide stuff in the weekend where nobody would see it here and nobody would be talking about it. But this 24-hour news cycle, they're cramming more and more into this as we go. We do have a lot to talk about with the Omicron variant. That's going to take up a bulk of this and some more Waukesha stuff. It does look like Waukesha is coming back together here, which, I mean, that looks like it's really good. I thought about going down there over the weekend, but with everything else that I had going on over here, I didn't get a chance to, getting the show set up for Katie Zed to come and join us back again. Out of very, very good graciousness out of Katie Zed too, by the way, because, well, as most of you know, I thought for sure that I was going to be sitting in front of a prosecutor and defender today saying, I believe in jury nullification, so I could get out of jury duty today. But I'm guessing the prosecutor actually did some digging, found this channel here, and knows that I believe in jury nullification. I'm willing to bet that they know about that there, because I got the terse letter on Wednesday saying, your services will not be needed. We will try again in 4 years. Thank you for responding to our survey. So, with that, I'm out, and we do have a Red Net show coming up tonight. I didn't think we were going to, but we're going to, which is good, because with the Omicron variant coming up here, we are going to have to go back and talk about this. So, let's get started. There is a ton to go over here today. We might set a record for length of Contemporary once again here. But before we get started, head on over and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Turns of Pages Productions, once we get launched, will be your one-stop hub for all of your favorite creators. We will be carrying great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Porch Boys, The R-Rated Conservative, who is streaming once again. He got delayed on his move, unfortunately. F in the chat for the R-Rated Conservative's move, but he made the best out of the best situation and decided to get back up onto the camera and start streaming. So go check that out. That is not on YouTube, by the way. He is not streaming to YouTube. He is going to Rumble, to DLive, and to Twitch. And if you need the links for any of those, let me know on the Twitter or over on the Discord, and I will make sure that you guys can go check that out. Great show, great friend of the show, too. You can also check out on Turns of Pages, the Freckles and Brit show as well. So go and check that out. We are still working on launching out the funding. That is one of the things that I didn't get to this weekend. But I will be taking care of that later on today, is getting the payments processed for that, so we can go get that started, get out of GoFundMe so they don't take any more of our dimes, don't take any more of our money, and find a more friendly payment processor to help get us started here. But go check that out, turnsofpagesproductions.com. All right, let's look in at the Dow. The Dow had a fairly large sell-off over the weekend. They had a half day on Friday. They only went from 7:30 to 1 p.m. or 8:30 rather to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And in that time, they continued to sell off here, coming back down all the way to 34,899.34. So it wasn't enough, by the way, that they dropped from 36,000 to 35,000, but they did get back down to 34,000. Now, it does look like this is stabilized off. For now, we'll see what happens in the actual trading, but the futures are all pointing to the fact that this might come back up at this point, and a few people are buying the dip. So we'll see what happens with that. Your Bitcoin, let's get a refresh on that. Your Bitcoin held steady overnight, but also did some climbing up over the weekend here. Looks like that came to 57,123.90 over the 54 that we saw on Friday when we looked at this. So it does look like some of your crypto plays are coming back. I know my Shibu is growing, not enough, but it's growing again. So we'll see what happens with that. No. We have to do the mainstream media line, Ron Helton. It's not hashtag Waukesha terrorist attack. It's autonomous hashtag car accident that has nothing to do with the person behind the wheel. That's what CNN told me. Looking in at your industrials here, your copper plays are up right now, steel plays are up, and aluminum is continuing to drop. But looking into the individuals, all plays with copper, including brass, are all up. Looks like most of your steel plays are up, except for a complete car, which is down. Aluminum siding is up. Aluminum copper fin radiators are up. Radiators, regular, are up, but cans are down, and sheet aluminum is down. Rims are up. Looking into your individual plays, copper in electric motors is down. Ballasts are up. Lead is down, and along with car and truck batteries. Looks like we've hit a slowdown on the catalytic converters market here because all of your cats are down. Compressors are up. Alternators are down. Carbide is down. And on your chips plays, all computer chip plays are up. Hard drives, motherboards, and power supplies. So look in on that if you got something to scrap, especially if you've got an old computer laying around that you don't need anymore and you don't want to try to put some sort of older system on there. Now would be the time to bring that over to the recycling center. See what you can get out of it. All right, well, let's see what IBD has to say. Dow Jones Futures signal market rally after Omicron COVID sell-off. Moderna, Tesla rival Li Auto jump. From Ed Carson. Dow futures rose solidly Monday morning, while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures jumped, with crude oil, treasury yields, and Bitcoin also recouping some of Friday's big losses. All eyes are on the newly discovered Omicron Persei 8th COVID variant, following Friday's sell-off. Coronavirus vaccine makers such as Moderna, BioNTech, and Pfizer were big winners. Vaccine makers kept rising on Monday. Yeah, okay. And this is one of the funny things, and we'll talk about this with the variant, is there's been conversation like, we don't know what's going on with this and what's going on with this, but it was the same thing with the Delta variant when that first came out. Oh, well, this one's just magically going to be the one that affects children. It's going to affect children. Don't you know? Don't you know anything? Why don't they have a close button on these advertisements anymore? Don't you know anything? This is going to affect the children, and they're talking about that too. Right as we're getting vaccines approved for 5 to 11-year-olds. Isn't that interesting? Coronavirus vaccine. Let's see. Where were we? Moderna, BioNTech, and Pfizer were big winners. Vaccine makers kept rising on Monday. Li Auto jumped early on Monday, flashing at least an early buy signal on mixed Q3 results, but bullish guidance later this week. Li Auto and Chinese EV startups NIO and XPeng are likely to release November delivery figures. China EV giant BYD may come slightly later, with Tesla China sales figures eventually following. The stock market rally was hit from all directions last week, with the major indices tumbling below key levels Friday on the new Omicron COVID variant. The crude oil prices and treasury yields plunging. The current uncertainty makes it difficult to navigate the stock market rally. Investors should be playing more defense than offense until conditions clearly improve. More clarity on the new Omicron variant is needed. Tesla is on the IBD leaderboard and the IBD 50. Pfizer was Friday's IBD stock of the day. Would it be bad if I actually bought stock into some of these? Like, at the start of the Biden admin, I did buy Raytheon. And I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop. As Taiwan gets more aggressive, as China gets more aggressive towards Taiwan, North Korea, and Russia and the Ukraine, as all those start to build, I'm thinking having a defense contractor in the portfolio is actually probably going to be a good idea. As much as I don't believe in their mission, I believe in their money. And I might have to pick a little bit up from Pfizer too. On your futures, Dow futures rose 0.7% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures advanced 0.9%, and NASDAQ 100 futures jumped 1.1%. Those are slightly off their overnight highs. The 10-year Treasury yield rose 6 basis points to 1.55%. U.S. crude oil prices rebounded 5% Friday after Friday's 13% plunge. Though natural gas price fell sharply, OPEC on Sunday delayed some technical meetings set for Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday so the market can digest the impact of the new pinko-fucking-pox variant. Bitcoin rose above 57,000, bolstering a modest risk on sentiment after Friday's sharp sell-off in crypto, but it's off overnight highs of above 58,000. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Let's read a little bit of Seeking Alpha, and then let's get into the big news of the day. NASDAQ, S&P, Dow Jones futures climb as volatility drops, yields in oil rise. From Kim Khan. Bullet points, of course. No major article, but let's see what we see. The stock market is gauging the potential effects of the COVID Omicron variant following a big move out of risk on Friday. The variant is reportedly very transmissible, but symptoms are also said to be mild. NASDAQ 100 futures, S&P 500 futures, and Dow futures are all solidly higher. The 10-year Treasury yield, which plunged on Friday, is back up 5 basis points to 1.54%. The VIX is down below 25 after spiking from about 18.5 to nearly 29 on Friday. WTI crude is up 5% above 150, while gold is edging up a little and the US dollar index is flat. We need to monitor fear of the virus to understand the economic consequences, UBS chief economist Paul Donovan said. Government travel restrictions represent official fear, but evidence so far suggests consumers are less afraid, perhaps encouraged by the reports of mild symptoms, or the fact that they've been locked in their homes for 2 years and they don't give a fuck anymore. There's that too. Austria's response to their lockdown shows that people have adapted behavior. At this stage, it seems unlikely the Omicron variant will change the economic narrative, but will create specific problems. Among sectors most sensitive to the COVID headlines, the airlines are mostly higher pre-market, and the Jets ETF is up 2%. Retail is also higher, despite a reverse in Black Friday sales growth for the first time. So, a lot of stuff here. Looks like Black Friday didn't do as well as people thought it was going to. Let's get into the big news of the day, and let's talk about the Omicron variant, starting here with CNBC. Now, we all know this is here. We talked about this on Friday, so I don't have to explain the fact that they found a new variant here, but we'll talk just a bit about some of the reaction to this. Starting with CNBC. U.S. to restrict travel from South Africa, 7 other countries as new COVID variant emerges. This is all the way back from Friday, November 26th at 2 p.m. and was updated at 11 p.m. that same day. This is from Christina Wilkie and Leslie Josephs. The U.S. will restrict travel for non-U.S. citizens from South Africa and 7 other countries starting Monday, part of a global effort to stem the spread of the heavily mutated Omicron variant of the COVID-19, according to senior Biden administration officials. In addition to South Africa, other countries included in the new restrictions are Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini, Mozambique, and Malawi. There was no indication Friday of how long bans will remain in place. President Biden said in a statement that moving forward he will be guided by what the science and my medical team advises. The decision came less than 3 weeks after the administration lifted pandemic travel restrictions on visitors from more than 30 countries, including South Africa, in favor of vaccine requirements for international tourists. Malawi, Namibia, Mozambique were among the 51 countries the U.S. exempted from the vaccine requirement because of low availability there. Biden was briefed on the variant on Friday by Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci, as a growing list of countries issued their own travel bans. Canada, the European Union, and the UK all announced restrictions on travelers from Southern Africa Friday, even as Belgian officials announced that several cases of the Omicron variant COVID had already been identified here. Or there, rather. I've decided to do what my puppeteers told me. I've decided we're going to be cautious, Biden said to reporters on Friday following the announcement of travel restrictions. We don't know a lot about the variant, except it's a great concern. It seems to spread rapidly, man. Come on. Also Friday, the World Health Organization assigned the newly identified variant the Greek letter Omicron and formally recognized the strain previously referred to as lineage B.1.1.529 as a variant of concern. Health experts are deeply concerned about the transmissibility of the Omicron variant, given that it has an unusual constellation of mutations and a profile that is different from other variants of concern. It is not clear how severe infections would be for vaccinated patients. Well, it seems like they're going to be pretty goddamn mild for everybody, so get some emergency, get some orange juice, and get some chicken broth. Experts fear a sharp upswing of COVID cases in South Africa's Gauteng province, where the heavily mutated strain of virus was first identified, could mean it has a greater potential to escape prior immunity than other variants. In a statement announcing the travel ban, Biden urged the already immunized Americans, get your boosters, man, come on, and urged parents to take advantage of the new vaccine doses approved for children ages 5 to 11. The emergence of this new strain in South Africa, Biden said, also underscores the importance of making the vaccines accessible to people all over the world. To that end, he urged the members of the WTO to waive intellectual property protections for the pinko-fucking-pox jab. The designation of a new variant concern, coupled with the mounting alarm from health officials, sent global markets into a tailspin on Friday. Oil prices took heavy losses on the news. Asked about the market losses, Biden said the reaction didn't surprise him. They always do it when something with COVID arises, man. Come on. Airline and other travel stocks plunged on Friday. The fresh travel restrictions followed reports of the new variant in places as distant as Botswana, Belgium, Israel, and Hong Kong. The new restrictions come just as carriers and aerospace manufacturers such as Boeing have been upbeat about a resurgence in travel demand, particularly international routes next year. So, we are officially banning travel from several South African countries, most of them sub-Saharan and most of them majority black. I don't know what the demographics are of South Africa. From what I understand, it's actually mostly white. But I've never been there. The only person I met from South Africa was white. I actually thought she was Swedish at first, but that was because she was hanging around with Swedish people. But that's where we have from that. And, of course, pushback from that. From Politico, WHO criticizes travel bans on Southern African countries. From the Associated Press, the World Health Organization on Sunday urged countries around the world not to impose flight bans from Southern African nations due to concerns over the new Omicron variant. WHO's Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, called on countries to follow the science and international health regulations in order to avoid using travel restrictions. Travel restrictions may play a role in slightly reducing the spread of the pinko pox, but it places a heavy burden on lives and livelihoods. Moti said in a statement, if restrictions are implemented, they should not be unnecessarily invasive or intrusive, and should be scientifically based. According to the International Health Relations, which is a legally binding instrument of international law recognized by over 190 nations. Moti praised South Africa for following international health regulations and informing the WHO as soon as its national laboratory identified the variant. Really? Because I'm under the understanding we knew about this 2 months ago. The speed and transparency of the South African and Botswana governments in informing the world of a new variant is to be commended, said Moti, who stands with African countries which had the courage to boldly share life-saving public health information, helping protect the world against the spread of the COVID-19. Cases of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus popped up in countries on opposite sides of the world on Sunday, and many governments rushed to close their borders even as scientists cautioned it's not clear if the new variant is more alarming than other versions of the virus. While the investigations continue into the Omicron variant, the WHO, who's on first, recommends that all countries take a risk-based and scientific approach and put in place measures which can limit its possible spread. Israel decided to bar entry to foreigners, and Morocco said it would suspend all incoming flights for 2 weeks starting on Monday. Among the most drastic of a growing raft of travel curbs being imposed as nations scramble to slow the variant spread, scientists in several places, from Hong Kong to Europe, have confirmed its presence. The Netherlands reported 13 cases on Sunday, and Australia found 2. The U.S. plans to ban travel from South Africa and 7 other southern African countries starting on Monday. With the Omicron variant now detected in several regions around the world, putting in place travel bans that target Africa attacks global solidarity, said Moti. COVID-19 constantly exploits our divisions. We will only get the better of the virus if we work together for solutions. The WHO said it's scaling up its support for genomic sequencing in Africa, so sequencing laboratories have access to adequate human resources and testing reagents to work at full capacity. The WHO also said it's ready to offer additional help reinforcing COVID-19 responses, including surveillance, treatment, infection prevention, and community engagements in southern African countries, it says. Your definitive guide to women in politics and power! Yes, because apparently Moti is a woman in power. Yeah, it doesn't seem like this would go very well over the mayor. And I see a lot of the pushback here. And I think that the Biden admin realized its mistake. I know Biden didn't. I know that they gave him his tapioca and they sent him off into the other room while the cognizant people were talking. But it does look like they realized that the mistake was made, and you can't just ban travel from African countries. That's not going to work in today's world. Because it looks like they might be starting to pull back on some of that here. We'll see what happens off of this. But yes, as of right now, as of today, according to this article, we are supposed to see South African travel requirements. From the New York Post. Biden says he delayed the Africa travel ban over Omicron variant on advice of advisors led by Fauci. From Stephen Nelson. President Biden said Friday that he delayed the implementation of a new ban on travel from Southern Africa on the advice of his medical advisors, who are led by Dr. Anthony Fauci. A reporter asked Biden why the emergency precaution will take effect Monday rather than immediately to contain the potentially more contagious Omicron variant of the pinko fucking pox. Well, because it's really not that big of an emergency, and it's not politically expedient for them to do so. Why not do it now, like other countries have done, the journalist asked Biden, who is spending a long Thanksgiving weekend at Nantucket. Biden said, because that was the recommendation coming from my medical team. Fauci is Biden's chief medical puppet master, and led a half-hour briefing for Biden on Friday. I'm guessing there were a lot of picture books, a lot of pointing, and a lot of dazed nodding. Biden said, "Oh, we don't know a lot about the variant, except it's a great concern. It seems to be spreading rapidly. And I spent about a half hour this morning with my COVID team led by Dr. Fauci, and that was the decision we made, man. Come on, man." But Biden seemed to have a poor grasp on the travel rules. I'm shocked. I'm not really that shocked. He misstated a number of countries impacted and said the policy would bar people from traveling to and from the region despite official releases, only noting restrictions on travel from but not to South Africa. "I've decided we're going to be cautious and make sure there's no travel to and from South Africa and 6 other countries in that region, except for American citizens who are able to come back, man. Come on." The 8 countries covered by the ban are Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Swaziland, and Zimbabwe. Biden also attempted to reassure spooked financial markets. He called a steep drop in stock values during the holiday weekend shortened session expected because of prior drops after the poor pandemic news, and then he said he was, "I'm not at all worried, man. Can I have my turkey now? Come on." But that's what we see coming out of that. It's just like the vaccine mandate rollout, though. There's no standing for any of that there. They know. They fucking know. This is a deadly emergency. It's October now, man. Come on, this is a deadly emergency that we have to get everybody vaccinated. So I've got to get you all vaccinated by January 4th. Because it's so deadly. We can wait for two more months, man. Come on. Same thing with this. This new Omicron variant. We got to ban travel from these countries. And we're going to start on Monday. I promise. Alright. Let's grab one from our friends over at NPR. This is listed under coronavirus updates, and make sure you donate to NPR. Because as the Omicron spreads, studies suggest that travel bans alone don't do much good. This is from Deepa Shivaram and Emma Bowman, and remember, they need our money, comrade. So let's make sure that we keep them up, because our taxpayer money isn't enough. They need our donations too, because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. Donate to NPR. To hear your communism spread around the world, NPR. National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. When the Omicron variant of COVID-19 was first identified in South Africa, the country's scientists were quick to inform global health leaders of the new mutations they had found. Though scientists have little information about the new variant and aren't certain where it originated in several countries, including the US, Canada, the UK, Israel, and the EU, amongst almost immediate travel bans from South Africa and other South African nations. The restrictive measures sparked outcry from some health officials and experts who caution the bans are premature and could set a harmful precedent. There is very little utility of these kinds of bans, Saad Omer, director of the Yale Institute of Global Health, told NPR. Unfortunately, from what we know about the epidemiology of SARS-CoV-2 and the epidemiology of this variant, the horse has probably already left the barn, Omer said, noting the high transmissibility of the coronavirus and its variants. Even though the Omicron variant has been reported on several other countries in Europe, Asia, and North America, travel bans have only been imposed on southern African countries. One of the identified cases, NPR gear for you and yours. Browsers, their t-shirts, hats, socks, and more. Don't you want NPR socks? Every purchase supports NPR. Take 20% off your entire purchase through Monday. It is Monday, but take 20% off because NPR wants people to know that you listen to National Progressive Radio. One of the identified cases of the Omicron in Belgium had no contact or travel with any nations in southern Africa, suggesting community spread could already be taking place. No shit, Sherlock. If the question is to prevent the variant from coming in, it really doesn't make sense to exempt countries where it has been identified and that it has even more direct flights than southern Africa, Omer said. Studies show travel bans are ineffective in curbing the spread of the disease. Travel bans from the start of the pinkopox pandemic resulted in economic and other consequences we're still seeing today. A recent study from the journal in Science shows that restricting international travel in the beginning stages of the pinkopox pandemic have had some effect in delaying the spread, but the researchers said restricting travel is only truly effective when paired with curbing the spread of information through hand washing, isolation, and early detection. Another study in the Journal of Emergency Management concluded that little evidence exists to prove that international travel bans are effective in controlling the spread of infectious diseases, and such measures should only be taken if recommended by the World Health Organization. With the Omicron variant, the WHO has already cautioned against imposing travel bans. Well, that's because they're coming from Africa now. The travel bans are affecting countries in Africa, those poor countries, where we need to get the migrants out because of war-torn effects and things that go along with that nature. These are war-torn areas. Please, just let us bring in the migrants. There's an ulterior motive here for that one. I'm sorry to say. Additionally, the stigma of travel bans can exacerbate racism and xenophobia, according to Nicole Arrett of the University of Washington, who is the lead author on the Journal of Emergency Management Studies. So, they're trying hard. They're trying desperately to stop the travel bans off this one, which, I mean, in and of itself is not a bad thing on paper because the travel bans are effectively fucking useless. It's here. It's around the world already. By the time they identified this thing, it had already been in Hong Kong, Israel, and various other places. Doing a travel ban at this point is completely useless. They're going to try and tell you that there's a use for it, but it's completely useless at this point. Omicron variant puts the world in a race against time, says EU Commission President. Yeah, you've already lost at that point. Let's listen to what the idiot has to say, and then we'll read some of the article.
Dr. Anthony Fauci warning this morning that the Omicron variant, as it's become known, that began circulating in South Africa, could already be here in the United States.
You would predict from looking at the mutations that have been identified that it likely will be more transmissible. We don't know that yet, but you have to be careful and assume that that's the case.
Do you believe that Omicron is already here in the U.S. likely?
You know, I would not be surprised if it is. We have not detected it yet, but when you have a virus that is showing this degree of transmissibility and you're already having travel-related cases that they've noted in Israel and Belgium and in other places, when you have a virus like this, it almost invariably is ultimately going to go essentially all over.
Now, the Biden administration has announced starting Monday, flights from 8 African.
So that's what our medical chief has to say about that. Oh, yeah, it's in some of these other places, which means it's probably already, yeah. But let's see what Martin Galindo and Ivana Kutasava have to say. The world is in a race against time with the Omicron coronavirus variant, said European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Sunday, warning during a visit to Latvia that scientists and manufacturers will need weeks to fully understand the new variant. As more cases are identified and governments around the world mobilize to respond to Omicron. An urgent meeting of the G7 health ministers will be convened on Monday, the UK said. It also announced on Sunday that new domestic public health rules require face coverings in shops and on public transport starting this week. Omicron was first identified by scientists in South Africa who raised the alarm over its unusually high number of mutations on Thursday. Since then, at least a dozen others have confirmed cases in the new strain, with several others reporting suspected cases. Apart from South Africa, the variant has been found in Botswana, Belgium, Canada, Australia, the Netherlands, Denmark, the UK, Germany, Israel, Italy, the Czech Republic, and Hong Kong. On Sunday, Dutch authorities announced that at least 13 people have tested positive at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport after traveling from South Africa. The Netherlands National Institute for Public Health and the Environment said in a statement that the variant had been detected through the sequencing of 61 positive COVID-19 samples that were obtained at the airport on Friday. It is possible that the new variant will be found in more test samples, the institution noted. Biostatistician Professor Sheila Bird said the test results from Amsterdam were concerning, but that more data was needed. There may be household clusters among the 13 Omicron positives, or clustering may have been induced by where passengers were seated on the flight from South Africa, she told the Science Media Center, adding that the vaccination status and age distribution of those infected will also need to be considered before any conclusions were made about the variant. The situation would be seen with an alert rather than alarm until more is known, she said. Canadian health officials also confirmed the country's first 2 Omicron cases in Ottawa on Sunday. Both individuals carrying the variant had recently traveled from Nigeria. According to a joint statement by Deputy Premier and Minister of Health Christine Elliott and Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. Kieran Moore. It's here! We continue to urge the federal government to take the necessary steps to mandate point-of-arrival testing for all travelers, irrespective of where they're coming from, to further protect against the spread of this new variant, the joint statement also said. I'd like to make a joint statement right about now, but I've got a CDL and I can't. So, yeah, it's all over the place. And if you're in a race against time, you lost. You're done. It's over. So sit back. Make sure the people who are actually at risk from this, the elderly, the infirm, the people with a bunch of comorbidities, are in and protected. And then hold on to your ass, because this is going to get a lot more interesting. Let's grab one from KIRO7. Doesn't say where it's out of. Canada reports first 2 cases of Omicron COVID-19 variant in Ottawa. From Bob D'Angelo, Cox Media Group National Content Desk. Health officials in Canada Sunday confirmed that 2 cases of the mutated new coronavirus variant discovered in Southern Africa have been confirmed in Canada. Which means that there's probably already 10,000 over there, and probably another 9,000 here. 2 people from Ottawa who recently traveled to Nigeria have tested positive for Omicron, the COVID-19 variant, CTV News reported. Today, the province of Ontario has confirmed 2 cases of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 in Ottawa, both of which were reported in individuals with recent travel from Nigeria, Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott and Chief Medical Officer of Health Kieran Moore said in a statement, Ottawa Public Health is conducting case and contact management of the patients, are in isolation. At their cost, by the way. The Omicron cases come 2 days after Canada implemented new travel restrictions on foreign nationals who had visited several countries in Southern Africa over the past week. CBC reported, "It's here!" I hope you got your toilet paper, because that's going to start getting panic bought once again. So this is fun. Let's grab one from NBC4 out of New York. It's coming! New York declares state of emergency ahead of potential Omicron spike. From Mark Kennedy and R. Darren Price. Governor Hochul has declared a state of emergency ahead of potential COVID-19 spikes this winter due to the already circulating Delta and newly identified Omicron variants of the coronavirus. The declaration, which goes into effect on December 3rd, will allow the states to acquire pandemic-fighting supplies, increase hospital capacity, without nurses to take care of it because you fucking fired all of them, and fight potential staffing shortages. It would also allow the state health department to limit non-essential and non-urgent procedures at the hospital. Any fired nurse who is unvaccinated, any fired nurse who now gets tapped because we need you to come in here, needs to turn around to Hochul and say, go and fuck yourself. At this point, any nurse who got fired over this needs to look back at this and say, no, you're not getting this. You're not getting this from me. Fuck off. But this is also going to aid in bringing in the National Guard to fill some of those spots too. Keep that in mind. Your job is going to be outsourced to the government. To each according to their needs. The declaration, which goes into effect on December 3rd, why not right now, will allow the state to acquire pandemic-fighting supplies. We continue to see warning signs of spikes this upcoming winter, and while the new Omicron variant has yet to be detected in New York State, it's coming, Hochul said. The move comes hours after the government said her office was closely monitoring the new variant, which was first sequenced in South Africa earlier this week. The variant contains around 50 concerning mutations from the original. You don't know what those mutations are. You don't even know what that means. From the original SARS-CoV-2 virus that appeared in China in 2019, including more than 10 to the spike protein that allows the virus to access to human cells. Well, that's interesting because I was told that this didn't start until March of 2020. But that's what we see coming off of that. From Fox 59 down to Indianapolis. Omicron, what we know and don't know on the new COVID variant. Well, the first thing we got to know is what happened to She. Where did the She variant go? Because you skipped one, and we all know why they skipped one, because you can't say China virus, it's racist. But it originated in Wuhan, but you can't say that because it's racist. And our corporate overlords are definitely in the pocket of Mr. Jinping. That's the other reason that we skipped that letter. From the Associated Press via Nexstar MediaWire. South African scientists identified a new version of the coronavirus they say is behind a recent spike in infections in Gauteng, the city's most populous province. It's unclear where the new variant first emerged, but scientists in South Africa alerted the WHO in recent days, and it's now been seen in several travelers arriving in countries from Australia to Israel to the Netherlands. On Friday, the WHO designated it as a variant of concern, naming it the Omicron after a letter in the Greek alphabet. Okay, the Mega Man X fan in me does have to wonder when we're going to start seeing the Sigma virus. Health Minister Joe Fauci said the variant was linked to an exponential rise in cases in the past few days. From just over 200 new confirmed cases in recent weeks, South Africa saw the number of new daily cases rocket to more than 3,200 Saturday, mostly in Gauteng. Boy, we sure went from 2 cases to 3,200 in a hurry, didn't we? Struggling to explain the sudden rises in cases, a scientist studied the virus samples and discovered the new variant. Now, as many as 90% of the new cases in Gauteng are caused by it, according to Tulio de Oliveira, director of the KwaZulu-Natal Research, Innovation and Sequencing Platform. After convening a group of experts to assess the data, the WHO says that preliminary evidence suggests an increased risk of reinfection with this variant as compared to other variants. That means that people who contracted COVID-19 and recovered should be subject to catching it again. The variant appears to have a high number of mutations, about 30, in the coronavirus's spike protein, which could affect how easily it spreads to people. Sharon Peacock, who has led the genetic sequencing of COVID-19 in Britain and the University of Cambridge's, said the data so far suggests the new variant has mutations consistent with enhanced transmissibility, but said the significance of many of the mutations is still not known. Lawrence Young, a virologist at the University of Warwick, described Omicron as the most heavily mutated version of the virus we have seen, including potentially worrying changes never before seen all in the same virus. Scientists know the Omicron is genetically distinct from the previous variants, including the Beta and Delta variants, but do not know if these genetic changes make it any more transmissible or dangerous. So far, there's no indication the variant causes more severe disease. It will likely take weeks to sort out if Omicron is more infectious and if vaccines are still effective against it. Peter Openshaw, a professor of experimental medicine at Imperial College London, said it was extremely unlikely that current vaccines wouldn't work, noting they are effective against numerous other variants. You can get those against a number of different variants. Even so, though some of the genetic changes in Omicron appear worrying, it's still unclear if they will pose a public health threat. Some previous variants, like the Beta variant, initially alarmed scientists but didn't end up spreading very far. So, a few different things to watch off of this. They don't know, and we don't know. Mostly, I want to know what happened to the She variant. And yes, I know in Greek it's not pronounced that way, but that's just a reminder as to why we skipped that one. From CNBC, WHO labels the new COVID strain named Omicron a variant of concern, citing possible increased reinfection risk. From Sam Meredith and Robert Towie. A lot of this is the stuff that we saw, but we've got a video to go with this. But for the most part, yeah, this is just, you could possibly get infected again. But it seems to be milder so far. So, you can get infected again and you might not even know it. Let's listen to what they have to say.
So today, WHO's Technical Advisory Group on Virus Evolution met to discuss the variant B11529, to discuss what we understand about this variant and if it should be classified as a variant of interest or a variant of concern. Based upon the information that we have, particularly from South Africa, they have advised WHO that this variant should be classified as a variant of concern. So today we are announcing B11529 as a variant of concern named Omicron. So Omicron B11529 is named as a variant of concern because it has some concerning properties. This variant has a large number of mutations, and some of these mutations have some worrying characteristics. Right now, there are many studies that are underway. There's a lot of work that is ongoing in South Africa and in other countries to better characterize the variant itself in terms of transmissibility, in terms of severity, and any impact on our countermeasures like the use of diagnostics, therapeutics, or vaccines. So far, there's little information, but those studies are underway. So we need researchers to have the time to carry those out, and WHO will inform the public and our partners and our member states as soon as we have more information. Once a variant is classified as a variant of concern, it's really important that we have good SARS-CoV-2 surveillance around the world, including better genomic sequencing, because we want to be able to detect this variant where it is circulating. It's also really important that studies are undertaken in the field to look at any clusters, and also the studies that are needed in the lab to look to see if there's any changes in severity, any changes in our impact on diagnostics, therapeutics, or vaccines. The Technical Advisory Group for Virus Evolution will be meeting regularly about Omicron. It will take days to weeks for some of these studies to be undertaken. It's really important.
Translation, we have no idea. And that's really the end-all be-all of it, is they have no fucking clue. They're going to try, and especially bring this out where they can come out and start panicking people. And get people, go take your vaccine, alright? I'll bring it to you myself. You can come and meet the wonderful Dr. Fauci. But go get your vaccine. I need another kickback. Pfizer's kickback, it's starting to go away for you. Oh shit, I realized I just forgot. No, I didn't forget it. It's over here archived. That's why it's still over in the stack over here. Because I archived it and brought it over. That's why. But yeah, that's what they don't know. And they know that they don't know. Statement from the president on the Omicron COVID variant. Huh? Where am I? I don't know what's going on, man. I sure miss Major. Whatever happened to him? I like chasing him out of the shower and pulling on his tail. Oh, shit, I need to do something professional here. This morning, I was briefed by my chief medical advisor, Dr. Tony Fauci, and the members of our COVID-19 response team about the Omicron variant, which is spreading through southern Africa. As a precautionary measure, until we have more information, I'm ordering additional air travel restrictions from South Africa and 7 other countries. These new restrictions will take effect November 29th as we move forward, and we will continue to be guided by what the science and my medical team advises. For now, I have two important messages for the American people, one for the world community. First, for those Americans who are fully vaccinated against severe COVID illness. You know, you're not vaccinated against the virus, you're vaccinated against severe illness. You're still going to get it, but your symptoms might be milder, maybe. Fortunately, for the vast majority of our adults, the best way to strengthen your protection is to get a booster shot. As the dollar signs appear in Pfizer's eyes. As soon as you're eligible, boosters are approved for all adults over 18, 6 months apart, past their vaccination, and are available at 80,000 locations coast to coast. They're safe, free, convenient. Get your booster now, man, come on. And you can have this additional protection during the holiday season. Second, for those not yet fully vaccinated, get vaccinated today. This includes both children and adults. America is leading the world in vaccinating children ages 5 to 11 and has been vaccinating teens for many months now. Children 5 to 11. Oh man, they smell good. But you need more Americans in all age groups to get this life-saving protection. If you've not gotten vaccinated, or if you're not taking your children to get vaccinated, now's the time. Come on, man. Finally, the world community, the news about this variant should make clearer than ever why this pandemic will not end until we have global vaccinations. And Moderna just got dollar signs in their eyes. The U.S. has already donated more vaccines that they purchased on taxpayer dime to other countries than every other country combined. It's time for other countries to match America's speed and generosity. So, that's what the House Plant Chief has to say. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Moving on off of this, and now that we have this out here, Fauci got to go up on Face the Nation this week, and we've got a couple clips of things that he had to say. Let's listen to this one first.
It's been almost 2 years since a mysterious virus began circulating in Wuhan, China, and there are still far more questions.
Wait, saying it came from Wuhan is racist.
Than answers about where it came from and how we can better prepare for the next pandemic. For our broadcast Sunday, we talked with Dr. Anthony Fauci to get his thoughts on just some of those questions. Here's a preview.
Why aren't we having a national conversation about what went wrong? I mean, apart from this room right now, why isn't there a 9/11 type commission?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is that you are going to see that for sure, Margaret. I think the lack of doing that now is because you're focusing on getting this thing under control. I would be astounded if we didn't have a very serious look at what went right, what went wrong, from a public health standpoint, from a local standpoint, from a global standpoint. I don't think that the public should imagine that this is going to go through with already 760,000 Americans dying and 40+ million at least being infected, close to 6 million people globally dying, and we're not going to look back at this and tear it apart, examine it, do an autopsy on it, and try and figure out.
Dr. Anthony Fauci coming up Sunday on Face the Nation.
Oh, we gotta figure out what went wrong here, and why I'm not getting another kickback off of this. How can I get more people to get vaccinated and get my kickback from Pfizer and BioNTech? How can I get that? How can I use the government to make sure that I get more money? But some more off of this here. What happened on January 6th, Senator? Fauci snaps at Ted Cruz's suggestion that he should be prosecuted. Oops. I just turned the wrong one back on here. This is the one I want. This is from Virginia Cruta. Dr. Fauci snapped at Senator Ted Cruz during an interview with CBS's Margaret Brennan, arguing that his most prominent critics were attacking him in an effort to deflect from other major issues like the Capitol Selfie Fest. Brennan took some time during the pre-recorded interview, which aired on Sunday's Face the Nation, to address some of the backlash Fauci had gotten from critics in Congress. Let's listen.
Why do you feel so strongly about that, about staying on the job when you become, you were personally, not just rhetorically, threatened? Your security, your safety, your family.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I dealt with it by focusing on what my job is. From the time that I went into medicine to the right now where I am at my age, my job has been totally focused on doing what I can with the talents and the influence I have to make scientific advances to protect the health of the American public. So anybody who spends lies and threatens and all that theater that goes on with some of the investigations and the congressional committees and the Rand Pauls and all that other nonsense, that's noise, Margaret. That's noise. I know what my job is.
Senator Cruz told the Attorney General you should be prosecuted.
Yeah. I'd have to laugh at that. I should be prosecuted. What happened on January 6th, Senator?
Do you think that this is about making you a scapegoat to deflect from President Trump?
Of course. You have to be asleep not to figure that one out.
Well, there are a lot of Republican senators taking aim at this.
That's okay. I'm just going to do my job. And I'm going to be saving lives, and they're going to be lying.
It seems another layer of danger to play politics around matters of life and death.
Right, exactly. And to me, that's unbelievably bad, because all I want to do is save people's lives. Anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, so it's easy.
Wow. Okay, I can't listen to this one anymore, but wow. My goodness. Conceited much? Is that what we're seeing? Is just straight up conceit? Because that's what I'm seeing. Oh, I'm Dr. Anthony Fauci. If you take an attack at science, trademark, and you take an attack at the saint, I'm not just a doctor, I'm a saint at this point. I'm the patron saint of medicine, Saint Anthony of Fauci. And you just trust the science. Trust in science. Science will save you. It'll be your savior. It'll take away your sins. It's not a religion, though, folks. They say it's a religion. It's not a religion. I'm sorry, they say it's not a religion. It's getting religious at this point. And I love this. That's the part that got me. Maggie comes out and says, "Oh, well, there are people out there like Senator Ted Cruz who say you should be prosecuted. Well, what happened on January 6th? But don't worry, they're deflecting." He deflects and then says they're deflecting. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off, dude. No, it doesn't sound like I am the party. It sounds like I am the Senate. All right, some more COVID stuff here. We're almost done with the COVID. Then we've got to go into Rittenhouse stuff here. Australia deploys forces to Solomon Islands as protesters burn Chinatown Parliament. This is from the Washington Post. Where democracy goes to die in darkness. From Michael E. Miller, violence shook the capital of the Solomon Islands for a second day despite a lockdown, with protesters targeting buildings in Chinatown as the nation's embattled leader vowed to hold the perpetrators accountable. Australia said it would send troops to quell the unrest. Smoke continued to billow over Honiara on Thursday, a day after the protesters demanding the resignation of the Prime Minister set fire to Parliament and several other buildings. The escalating riots led Prime Minister Manessa Sogavare to call on the neighboring Australia for help, with his Australian counterpart announcing the country would send around 120 soldiers and police officers to keep the peace. Spoiler alert, COVID restrictions are not going to be able to come back home. Our purpose here is to provide stability and security to enable the normal constitutional process in the Solomon Islands, Scott Morrison said in a news conference on Thursday evening. It's not the Australian government's intention in any way to intervene with the internal affairs of the Solomon Islands. This is for them to resolve. The science will save Epicena. It will save. It will save us all. It will save you. It will save me. Get down and say a prayer to science. A Facebook viewer over here, that's interesting. I don't get very many of those, because I've got a fairly small page and a fairly small presence. It is unclear as to what it was. Let's see. In a national address late Wednesday, Sogavare called the riots a sad but unfortunate event aimed at bringing a democratically elected government down, and announced a 36-hour lockdown to allow authorities to investigate. Hundreds of citizens took the law into their own hands today, he said, claiming they had been led astray by a few unscrupulous people, whom he did not name but said would soon face the full brunt of the law. Many of the protesters came to Honiara on the island of Guadalcanal from Leibt, the most populous island in the archipelago nation in the South Pacific, about 1,000 miles from the northeast coast of Australia. Tensions have simmered between the two islands since the national government switched to diplomatic allegiance from Taiwan to China in 2019, a move opposed by Leibt's premier Daniel Swedenai, who claimed he had been offered a bribe to support the switch. Sogavare denied the accusation. So I thought this was on COVID lockdown, so it looks like this is a China thing, but still. They're going into riots and they're asking Australia to come and help. Alright, what else do we have? Alright, last one that we'll do on COVID from The Telegraph. EU is set to propose a 9-month expiry date on COVID vaccine passports for travel. From Gareth Davies. The European Union has recommended a 9-month expiry date on COVID vaccine passports for those looking to travel into the bloc, according to reports. Member states should prioritize vaccinated travelers and continue to welcome those inoculated with doses approved by the EU, documents seen by Bloomberg show. The memo also calls for countries to reopen for fully vaccinated tourists who have been jabbed with shots approved by the WHO from January 10th. The European Commission's proposal, which covered travel from outside the EU, also included a time limit for the validity of COVID vaccines, suggesting boosters will be needed for holidaymakers who have their second jabs more than 9 months before their trips. So, it's official. There's an expiration date on this. After 9 months, you are not vaccinated anymore. You know, unlike every other vaccine we've ever taken, polio, I'm still considered vaccinated against polio, even though I haven't had it for 37 years. Measles, I'm still considered vaccinated against measles. MMR, I haven't seen an MMR vaccine since 1998. 97. Yeah, 97. They still consider me vaccinated against that. I did not get the meningitis one. They urged me to do so when I went to college, but I did not get that one. Didn't feel the need. But all these other ones, I'm still considered vaccinated against for. But every 9 months, I need to have another booster? No, thank you. Alright, let's move into other stuff here. Let's start here with the Daily Mail. Let's talk about Rittenhouse. Black diversity boss offers Levi staff individual racial trauma counseling to promote healing after Kyle Rittenhouse acquittal. From Ross Ibbotson for Mail Online. Jeans maker Levi's has offered woke counseling from a racial trauma specialist to encourage healing after Rittenhouse was cleared of murder because he defended himself by killing 2 white people and injuring a 3rd. So we need to have a racial reckoning for this. How much do these people get paid, by the way? That's the one that really gets me. How much do these people get paid to come back out and do this? Because this seems like a lot of money laundering going on here. Levi's Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Elizabeth Morrison, sent a letter to staff that began with the news that Rittenhouse was not convicted in the shooting of 3 individuals, 2 of whom lost their lives during racial justice protests last year. This is a difficult day for many. Morrison offered 24-hour mental health care for those suffering the pain and trauma of race, identity, and belief-based tragedies. She added, to help promote safety, sharing, and to encourage healing, I'll be hosting a fireside chat and Q&A with Dr. Jamila Codrington, a licensed psychologist and racial trauma specialist, in early December. If you are put to a point... Where is Levi's headquarters, by the way? Where is Levi's? San Francisco. Okay. If you are in San Francisco and you are so beaten and broken down by a verdict that happened 2,000 miles away from you in a small town in Wisconsin, then you don't need to have counseling to keep going to work. You should be institutionalized. If you are that distraught over something like that, from 2,000 miles away, you got something else wrong with you. Rittenhouse was cleared of charges, blah, blah, blah. We know where that goes. The teenager said he acted in self-defense. The acquittal caused Biden to say he was angry and concerned and triggered a widespread liberal meltdown after Rittenhouse was painted as a white nationalist following the shootings. In a letter to staff, Morrison added, Dr. J and I will talk about mental and psychical impacts of back-to-back social and racial justice events and trauma coping mechanisms during our discussion. I don't know why this is a racial justice thing. The California-based executive encouraged employees to use the counseling because resources to help employees impact social justice, equality and drive positive change, such as getting educated and informed on the issue of gun violence and reaching out to your elected officials. He'll let them know just how important common sense gun laws are to you. Jesus. There's so much propaganda just in this statement, and it's not just Levi's, by the way. From the College Fix. Cal State Long Beach holds Kyle Rittenhouse verdict debriefing for students. From Christian Snyder. Noting that counseling and psychological services staff will be present. California State University Long Beach Dean of Students Pia Bose invited faculty and students to take part in a debriefing of last week's verdict that found teenager Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty on all charges after shooting 3 protesters during rioting in Kenosha last year. The event took place Monday afternoon online. When there are higher profile events and issues on the public discourse, it's not uncommon for our university to provide safe spaces and puppies and coloring books for our campus community to discuss these topics, said school spokesman Jim Milbury in an email to the College Fix. What the hell happened to my generation and the one that followed? What happened? I don't understand. I don't. We go from 17-year-olds storming the beaches of Normandy to 20-year-olds needing coloring books and puppies to deal with a legal proceeding from 2,000 miles away. Even though the protesters shot by Rittenhouse were white, activists have nonetheless argued that his presence at the Kenosha riots was a sign of his white supremacy. Over the weekend, controversial Rutgers University professor Brittany Cooper said the Rittenhouse verdict was a sign of which version of whiteness America wants. When discussing the fact that the men Rittenhouse shot were white, she said, "There have always been white victims of white supremacy." At Fitchburg State University in Massachusetts, administrators scheduled a virtual and in-person physical spaces for students who needed to process the Rittenhouse verdict. The spaces are segregated by students of color, with the white and students of color being asked to attend separate processing spaces. I don't understand. I really don't. On the Waukesha side, Waukesha held a moment of silence on Sunday, 1 week after a man plowed a vehicle through a Christmas parade. Stealth edited, of course, because we'll talk about that just a little bit later. The city of Waukesha held a moment of silence and lit the city up in blue Sunday, marking a week since a man drove a vehicle through the city Christmas parade, killing 6 people and injuring scores of others. The moment of silence took place at 4:39 p.m. local time, and city officials commemorated the moment of silence in an event live-streamed on the Waukesha Facebook page. From the very first moment, our community has come together to help those suffering, and we will continue to do so, Mayor Sean Riley said in the brief remarks. Our response during the past week and in the future will show that those who care vastly outnumber those who do not, and an evil will not triumph, he said. We will grieve as a community, and we will heal as a community. Residents are also encouraged to light a blue light outside their homes to be left up throughout the holidays. A limited supply of blue light bulbs are available for those who need them, officials said. More than 60 people, 18 of whom were children, were injured last Sunday, November 21st, when a driver plowed an SUV through the city's Christmas parade in downtown Waukesha. 6 people, including an 8-year-old boy, were killed. As of Sunday afternoon, 7 children remain hospitalized at the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. According to a hospital news release, 3 children have been discharged since Wednesday. 3 children remain in serious condition, 3 are in fair condition, and 1 is in good condition, authorities said. So it's good that they're coming together. It's good that they're coming together and not letting this terrify them. They're back out on the streets. They're out there. They're not hiding in their homes. Terrorism did not win off of this. And I like that. I'm happy about that. West Bend Christmas Parade steps off after Waukesha tragedy, which is another one. West Bend, a community to the north side of Milwaukee, in... I don't know what county that's in, but it's not Milwaukee County. It is outside of Milwaukee County. I think it's in Washington County. But a little bit further away from Milwaukee proper. A little bit further away than that, but still, it's out there. But close enough that you would still see Milwaukee people coming in to do stuff if they were going to do bad stuff. From Sam Kramer. West Bend Christmas Parade steps off after Waukesha tragedy. The West Bend Christmas Parade stepped off down Main Street Sunday, November 28th, a week after the Waukesha Christmas Parade tragedy. Organizers opted to move forward with the parade after some security adjustments. Snowplows were used as roadblocks, and officers manned those roadblocks with rifles. Steps, families, and said they were grateful for. It was the 69th anniversary of the West Bend Christmas Parade, and for so many, a little extra protection kept this tradition worth coming to. Yeah, and once again, I have to wonder if there are going to be any other parades where they're going to be having municipal vehicles blocking off the paths rather than just having a regular barricade. Sunday's West Bend Christmas Parade was more than a kickoff to the holiday season. It was a sign of strength and unity after the attack in Waukesha. A moment of silence was held in honor of the 6 killed and more than 60 others hurt when the driver of an SUV plowed into the parade. I think it's very cool to see the turnout here after what happened last weekend, said Corey Rickaby. It hasn't stopped anyone from coming out, and I think that says a lot about the community and that we're all together. Just days earlier, organizers decided the parade would march on after security upgrades such as snowplows doubling as roadblocks and officers standing watch. I think every single person here today feels safer because of that, absolutely, said Heather Steinbach. Lindsay Schmidt and her family have come to the parade for decades. She said they made a slight change in their plans just to be safe. We kind of wanted to be surrounded by buildings and things that we would have a quick escape if anything would happen, said Schmidt. So yeah, we weren't really hesitant about coming. We're just a little bit more cautious. Overall, there was a clear sense of gratitude, not just for the candy tossed towards the sidewalks or the chance to see Santa, but also for the fact that this tradition would carry on after Waukesha's tragedy. So, and that's what we see off of that. A moment of silence for our friends and neighbors in Waukesha. It's a terrible thing to see where that came off this. Now, I appreciate the fact that we have the municipal vehicles out there. I appreciate the fact. So that we can't go back and do another tragedy exactly the same. But that doesn't, and this is the same thing. This is the same thing that goes with the gun control argument and everything else. And we'll talk about the politicization of this in just a second, but this is the problem. You're not sitting here addressing why people are doing this. Yes, you can put every barrier out there in the world to make sure nobody can get at your little celebration, your little areas, but you need to stop and address why people are doing this kind of thing. What is wrong in the hearts and minds that make people want to do something like this? That's what we need to be focused on. But since we can't focus and get an answer to that, let's just park $120,000 international to make sure that nobody can drive a car through. And hope to God nobody brings a knife or something. From News 21, KTVZ.com, Wisconsin senators warn in a rare joint statement, outsiders may try to exploit Waukesha tragedy for political purposes. This kind of pisses me off, I'm not going to lie. By Ross Leibt and Daniela Diaz of CNN, in a rare joint statement, Wisconsin Senators Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat, and Ron Johnson, an idiot, warned on Saturday that outsiders may be looking to exploit the tragedy that unfolded last weekend in Waukesha. It has come to our attention that outside individuals or groups may attempt to exploit the tragedy that occurred last Sunday in Waukesha for their own political purposes. The statement said, as the U.S. Senators representing Wisconsin, one from each political party, we're asking anyone considering such action to cease and desist. 6 people, including an 8-year-old boy, were killed, and more than 60 were injured after a driver rammed an SUV through a Christmas parade in downtown Waukesha last Sunday. Prosecutors believe the driver was Darrell E. Brooks, 39, and they have charged him with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and will consider a 6th homicide charge over the boy's death. The senator's statement did not provide details about why they issued the warning, but said that they both have full confidence in the local officials who responded with extraordinary professionalism, competence, integrity, and compassion. That's cool. I like the fact that you've come together, Ron and Tammy, because Tammy's life goal is to get Ron out of politics forever. Here's the problem. What is politics? Now, you may say that this is partisan bickering. You may say that politics has become a methodology of control. But that's not what it is. Politics is public policy. And right now, we're looking at the end result of a public policy that failed. So no, Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin, no, this needs to be politicized as much as it possibly can. Because you have a public policy that failed and it resulted in the death of 6 people and the injury of 60 people. This is the absolute perfect thing to be politicized right now, because this gives us a rare opportunity to look and see why bail reform, the public policy in its current form, has failed. Now, I am all for bail reform. If you smoked a joint, if you dealt a little bit of drugs, if you did stuff like that, I can see bail reform for that. But you have a person with a history of rape, assault, and attempted murder, arguably, when you hit somebody with a car and they find tire tracks on her leg, and you let him out on $1,000 bail. This is the reason. This is exactly what we need to do, and bring this forward so we can have a discussion about what happens with bail reform. And yes, the nonviolent criminals, the nonviolent offenders, maybe we should have a conversation about bail reform for them. But not people who are clearly a danger to society, with a long history and a long track record of this. Fuck you, Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin, both of you. This is exactly what we need to do with this. This is exactly why we need to be having this discussion. From Fox News, CNN roasted for tweet saying Waukesha parade attack was caused by a car that drove through the parade. And somehow I picked this because I thought that it would somehow be less cringy than the Daily Wire version of this. But this is mostly media outlets bickering with each other. From Yale Halon. CNN was the center of an intense backlash on Sunday over a tweet suggesting the SUV involved in the Waukesha parade attack was responsible for the massacre that resulted in 6 deaths. Darrell Brooks was charged with intentional homicide after driving his red SUV through a crowded street commemorating the holiday season, claiming 6 lives of those ages 8 to 81 and injuring a dozen more. On Sunday, however, CNN appeared to place the responsibility on Brooks' vehicle, making no mention of the career criminal behind the wheel. The tweet says, Waukesha will hold a moment of silence today, marking 1 week since a car drove through a city Christmas parade, killing 6 people and injuring scores of others. Screenshot it because I'm sure that at some point this one will get deleted. Critics tore into the liberal outlet on social media for an apparent attempt to deflect blame from the suspect. Well, how about that? Autonomous cars seem to be running amok, legal scholar and McCormick professor Robert P. George wrote. Evidently, one got it into its head to kill and maim a bunch of humans, so it drove through a Christmas parade, killing 6 people and injuring scores of others. We should punish that car to teach others a lesson. A car did this, not a human being with an intent to kill and maim, and being held on $5 million bail. Congressional California candidate Buzz Patterson agreed. You guys are a joke. Hey, CNN Keith, what's up with this headline and the tweet of your article? Newsbusters deputy managing editor Nicholas Fondacaro asked, you guys know the movie Cars isn't real, right? Cars are not living things. Ka-chow, he wrote in a separate tweet. Someone, Joe Rogan, is radicalizing cars, former New York Times, a former newspaper reporter Nellie Bowles tweeted. So, well, once again, this is just media outlets bickering with each other. Waukesha businesses pass out blue lights as a sign of unity. Yeah, I'll probably, while I'm not here anyway, because obviously I need the red light on to sleep, but I've got a color change LED in my bedroom over there, and I'll probably switch that to blue while I'm not sleeping. Solidarity. I might get a LED light for outside too, a blue one for that, for the outside. I have no problem doing that. It is definitely an easy way to come out and say, yes, I stand with the people of Waukesha. Seven downtown Waukesha businesses received 100 blue light bulbs each from the city. They were tasked with passing them out to residents on Saturday. The purpose is to unite with a blue light. City leaders encourage everyone to turn on their blue lights Sunday to join for a moment of silence at 4:39 p.m. to honor the Waukesha parade attack victims. That time, 4:39 p.m., is the moment a driver barreled through a parade crowd, killing 6 and physically injuring 62 others last week. The mental injuries are also severe and widespread. When I heard about it happening, it made me feel very queasy, like really messed me up, like I felt traumatized, said one Waukesha child, Jovita Love. It makes me feel happier that everyone is trying to participate, she said when she heard about the blue light unity. I think it's beautiful, resident Jennifer Love said. I can't wait to drive down the street in the city and see everyone have blue lights. This is going to be awesome. And if you're in Wisconsin, there is a list in the article of where you can get the blue lights from. I already have some, but yeah, I think that's really cool.
Unite with a blue light. Hundreds of Waukesha.
Okay. We already know what's going on with that. You don't have to tell me. White pill for you on this whole situation. 9th child discharged from the hospital a week after the massacre from Patrick Riley. That is from Children's, by the way. I've been there. That is a pain in the ass area of the city to drive in, by the way. I am glad for their mission. I'm not criticizing Children's by any stretch of the imagination. But man, is that a pain in the ass part of the city to drive in. My second fiance's best friend's brother got cancer while her and I were together. Like, really bad in the lungs. Like, they pulled a tumor the size of a 2-liter bottle out of his chest. And he was an active football player. I think he was 17. But yeah, they treated him in Children's, so. We went up to see him one day. A 9th child was discharged from Children's Wisconsin after being treated for injuries suffered in the Waukesha Christmas parade tragedy on Sunday. A total of 7 children are still recovering from the hospital 1 week after the crazed driver plowed through revelers at an annual Christmas celebration in the Milwaukee suburb, killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others. 3 of the children are in serious condition, 3 in fair condition, and 1 is in good condition, the hospital announced. We hold deep appreciation for the care and compassion of the Children's Wisconsin team and the ongoing support of our community, Children's Hospital Wisconsin tweeted. I should reach out to Lindsay. No, she'll probably tell Kim about me. Just to see how her brother wound up doing, because I haven't seen him since her and I split up, and that's been... Well, let's see, that was in 06, so that's been 15 years. I just want to see how her brother's doing, though. 3 of the children are in serious condition, 3 in fair condition, and 1 is in good condition, the hospital announced. We will hold a deep appreciation for the care and compassion of the Children's team and the ongoing support of the community, Children's tweeted. So, good. More people are getting out and getting back on with their lives. It's going to be a hard one. It is definitely going to be a hard one to live with for the rest of their lives. But at least they're getting out in good health. Their mental health we'll have to have the conversation about, but they're back out in good health, and I do appreciate seeing that. Oof. Another white pill for you on this entire situation. Some consistency, and I don't know that they would have done this. I'm still not going to continue to use them as a fundraiser processor either, by the way. But at least they're showing some consistency. From Fox 6 Milwaukee, GoFundMe pulls fundraiser for Waukesha suspect Daryl Brooks. From Adam Sabes, GoFundMe has removed a fundraiser for Daryl Brooks Jr., who has been charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder after Sunday's Christmas parade massacre in Waukesha. A GoFundMe was created for Brooks in an effort to raise $5 million, the bail amount Waukesha Court Commissioner Kevin M. Costello set for Brooks. I am not surprised. Brooks allegedly drove through a Christmas parade, killing at least 6 people and injuring dozens of others. A spokesperson for GoFundMe confirmed to Fox Business that the fundraiser was removed from the platform because it violated GoFundMe terms of service. The spokesperson also said the organizers attempting to raise money for Brooks has been banned from using the platform for future fundraisers. Fundraisers with misuse are very rare, and we take all complaints very seriously. Our team works with law enforcement to report issues and assist them in investigations they deem necessary, the spokesperson said. Law enforcement today first reported on the fundraiser's creation. GoFundMe has come under criticism recently after the Rittenhouse trial verdict. GoFundMe says that since Rittenhouse was acquitted of violent crime, money could now be raised for him using the platform. Previously, fundraisers for Rittenhouse legal defense were prohibited on the site. So, consistency at least. Kind of curious as to how long that was up. Let's see, there's a little bit over here. However, GoFundMe allowed fundraisers for the defense of people accused of violent crimes around the same time as Rittenhouse defense fundraisers were pulled from the site. Mark Wilson, for example, had a fundraiser on GoFundMe set up by others to pay for his legal defense after he allegedly shot and killed a 17-year-old girl, claiming he did so in self-defense. It's too early to tell if GoFundMe will now be consistent. Well, they're going to have to be. They're in the public eye at this point. Or if this is simply a reaction to the negative fallout regarding Rittenhouse. William Jacobson, clinical professor and director of securities law clinic at Cornell University Law School, told Fox News. Yeah, that's going to be the big question. The bigger question is why GoFundMe will not permit fundraising for legal defense of people accused but not convicted. It seems illogical to say that someone can raise money to defend themselves, but only after they're acquitted, when they no longer need the funds to defend themselves, Jacobson said. Well, like I say, it's because they did something for political purposes. They made action for legitimate political purposes. There was no other reason behind that. Now they got caught, and now they have to go back and pull all the rest of these back down. Alright. Government behaving badly. From the Hill. Klobuchar confident spending bill will be finished before Christmas. From Carolyn Vakil. Senator Amy Klobuchar said on Sunday that she's confident Democrats' social spending bill will be finished by Christmas. You laid out what you see as the benefits of your plan about your Democrat colleague from West Virginia. Oh, that's Stephanopoulos. Actually, the voice is kind of similar, whiny, saying stupid shit. Let's just watch the video. That way I don't have to shake to pretend to be Amy Klobuchar.
You've laid out what you see as the benefits of the plan, but your colleague, Democratic colleague from West Virginia, Senator Joe Manchin, continues to signal that he wants to push this off until next year. What are the consequences of delay? Are you confident it will get done before Christmas?
I am, and Senator Manchin is still at the negotiating table, talking to us every day, talking to us about voting rights, getting that bill done, restoring the Senate. He is talking to us about this bill. When I look at this drama in the next month, I break it down into a mini-series. And the first part is the defense bill and a bridge to the budget. vast majority of senators support that. We'll get that done. Second thing, the debt ceiling. You know, if the Republicans want to scrooge out on us and increase people's interest rates and make it hard to make car payments, go ahead, make that case. We're going to stop them from doing that. The third, as I mentioned, voting rights, fundamental to our country. You see partisan gerrymandering going on, and what we're talking about here is restoring the rules of the Senate so we can pass a bill that Senator Manchin has signed his name onto, the bill I lead, the bill Senator Schumer has been bringing every people together on, and that is the Freedom to Vote Act. And finally, what we just talked about, the Build Back Better bill. We can get this done. It's
you said you
to
can
me,
get
it's
it
that
all
old song. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear the song now.
The song is a little less talk and a lot more action. That's
there
what
does
we
seem
need
to be
in this next month.
Every time she talks, I just wait to hear a "don't you know." I really do. We can get this done by Christmas, don't you know? Several of these items that she's brought up, of course, are illegal, unconstitutional, cannot be done on a federal level. As I think a lot of people already know, but it's... She said the quiet part out loud, that much I can say. You're not supposed to be talking about the debt ceiling until it's panic time, which it probably is about panic time right about now. It's probably about panic time because it's the 29th. And isn't the debt ceiling, isn't that up on the 3rd? When is the debt ceiling? Through early December is all that it says. I think it's like the 3rd or something. But yeah, we haven't heard a lot about that, have we? That's going to be coming up next week. The left cannot meme. Here's a wall of text for you. From the Transportation Department, Transportation Gov, US DOT. The girl, what are you thinking about? Wall of text. I'm thinking about how the new infrastructure law is going to make getting from place to place so much better over the next decade, and how, when combined with the Build Back Better Act, it will create millions of new jobs. Same! Response from the Daily Wire. Department of Transportation blasted for posting cringy meme. Some suggest it may violate the law. That's the part I'm interested in, why it might violate the law, other than making us cringe to fucking death. From Daily Wire News. President Biden's Department of Transportation, led by Secretary Pete Buttplug, was widely mocked online and even faced ethics questions over a meme that the department posted to its official Twitter account. We've seen the meme. We saw what it is. Congress has enacted federal laws on the use of federal funds that prohibit agencies and employees from lobbying the Congress or the public in favor of legislation that is pending in Congress, although it is unclear if the tweet from the Department of Transportation violates that law. Fox News reported. The U.S. Office of Special Counsel, which typically investigates Hatch Act violations, did not immediately respond to a request or comment from Fox News. Dude, 5 years ago, nobody knew what the Hatch Act was. And people regularly violated it. Chuck DeVore, Vice President of the National Initiatives and the Policy Director for the Election Protection Project at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, suggested that the meme could be some sort of violation. This appears to be lobbying, DeVore said, and I didn't think federal agencies were allowed to be so blatant in promoting specific legislation. The Secretary of Transportation can, of course, but the DOT's official website? It seems unusual. Notable responses to the tweet included Spike Cohen, "You're being robbed to finance cringe posting." Dean Cain, "Holy shit," with a cocked eyebrow, and I can't do a cocked eyebrow, unfortunately. I don't have that much control of my facial muscles. Stephen Miller. Red Steez, 38-state wipeout. Omri Sarin, National Security Advisor for Ted Cruz. A lot of you are dunking on how cringy this tweet is, and totally running past how the meme is almost hilariously the left can't meme awful. Check me on this because it's been a while, but I remember the summer and fall of 2020, the conventional wisdom in DC, all the way from the hard left to the center right. That was whatever other concerns might have about a Biden admin, at least adults would be in charge. Fair point. Jeffrey Miller. How many miles of high-speed rail will this actually build? How many new metro subway systems in cities that don't have them? How many new airports? Frank Fleming of the Babylon Bee. It's some of the trillions in Build Back Better going toward teaching the left to meme. Mark Krikorian says, whoever did this should look for a new line of work. Logan Hall, director of social media at the Daily Caller, the absolute state of liberal memes. Ian Miles Chong, Buttplug, said he was going after racist Rose, but so far all he's doing is posting shitty memes of white people. Katie Z, Orvold, you have your orders. Meme freely. I will put this article in the Discord. Actually, I'll put the tweet in the Discord, so you guys can get it quite easily. It is in general chat in the Discord. Meme away, friends. Meme away. From the Hill. Lindsey Graham. Graham emerges as go-to ally for Biden's judicial picks. From Jordan Carney. Senator Lindsey Graham went viral during the Trump administration and bolstered his conservative cred with a fiery defense of then Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. But now, he is quietly emerging as one of the GOP's most frequent supporters of President Biden's judicial nominees. The evolution is the latest turn for the South Carolina Republican and former Judiciary Committee chair, regarded by his critics as a political chameleon, but one known for his relationship with Democrats and willingness to shift within his own party. Graham's support for Biden's court picks comes up even as he remains deeply enmeshed with both former President Trump touting his own judicial nominees and faces a GOP base deeply antagonistic towards Biden and his congressional Democrats. He believes presidents who win elections get to appoint judges subject, obviously, to extreme cases. And I think he's following through on it, said Russell Wheeler, a fellow with the Brookings Institution who studies judicial confirmations. Graham has touted his willingness to support a president's judicial nominees, even if he doesn't agree with their philosophy, noting he was one of 9 GOP senators who voted for Justice Sonia Sotomayor's Supreme Court nomination, and one of 5 who supported Elaine Kagan a year later. Senator Graham has long believed that under the Constitution, the president has the right to select judges of their choosing, and as long as they're qualified, they should generally be confirmed by the Senate. Graham's office said in a statement, yeah, it's unfortunate that the other side won't do that. I mean, we remember the stupid fucking debacle over Barrett, over Kavanaugh. Less so under Gorsuch. We remember those stupid fucking debacles, but, I mean, we're looking at this. And yeah, I mean, it's fair to say, it's not just, I mean, the understatement from Graham's office. Graham believes that the Senate should be a rubber stamping organization, that they should have the final say to come out. And, I mean, if I hate to say if the shoe was on the other foot, but if the shoe was on the other foot, this wouldn't be going the other direction. This is lock, stock, and barrel, lockstep. Oppose any nominee that's appointed by a Republican. But hey, let's make sure that we rubber stamp any judicial nominee from a Democrat. I would be in favor of bringing the filibuster back for judicial nominees. I really would. Yeah, the Republicans did not confirm Garland, and it appears that was the correct choice. Garland is a horrible person, and yeah, his partisanship is showing every single time he gets up and makes some sort of statement or decision. He is. He is a power-hungry, horrible person. And he may have violated the law a few times. It's the traditional and customary role of the Senate in the judicial confirmation process, it added. Graham's support for Biden's nominees on the Senate floor hasn't been across the board. Earlier this month, he and every other GOP senator voted against moving Jennifer Sung's nomination to the Ninth Circuit to the floor, forcing Vice President Harris to break a tie to make the nomination available for a vote. He also opposed the nominations of Myrna Perez and Beth Robinson, who were both selected to serve as U.S. Circuit judges on the Second Court during votes on the Senate floor. Yeah, but he has been too far in favor of some of the ones that didn't need to be there. And yes, once again, it would be I'd be very glad to see the judicial filibuster come back. Alright, from just the news, Boebert introduces legislation to ban federal settlement payments to illegal migrants. Legislation is entitled the We're Not Paying You to Break Our Laws Act. Lauren Boebert, the fiery House GOP freshman from Colorado, is introducing legislation to prohibit the federal government from making settlement payments to illegal immigrants who have sued because their families were separated at the border. In Biden's America, it is better to be a criminal than a law enforcement officer, Boebert said this week when she rolled out her new bill. Well, that's the way it should be, but... Over half of Border Patrol agents may be fired because of Biden's vaccine mandate for federal employees, but illegal aliens get a free pass into our country and could receive $450,000 a check. For contrast, the highest paid Border Patrol agents make less than half that in yearly salary after 20 years of service. The We're Not Paying You to Break Our Laws Act would ban the Justice Department for paying legal settlements up to $450,000 per asylum seeker or $1 million per illegal alien family who were separated at the border during the Trump years. But not the Obama years, or the Clinton years, or the W years, just the Trump years. Boebert has gotten several other Republicans to co-sponsor the bill, including Scott Perry, Jeff Duncan and Ralph Norman, Tom Tiffany, Andy Harris, Louis Gohmert, Randy Weber, and Andy Biggs. Rep. McClintock proposed similar legislation earlier this month that would prohibit settlement payments to illegal aliens and has won support from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan, the top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee. Alright, no HR on this 117th Congress. It's only 2 pages, so let's read this. Let's see what's actually on here. Mrs. Boebert introduced the following bill, which was referred to the committee on blank. A bill to prohibit the payment of settlement agreements in certain cases and for other purposes. Being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. The act may be cited as the We're Not Paying You to Break Our Laws Act. Section 2. Prohibition on payments of settlements in certain cases. No amounts may be made available from the Treasury for the payment of any settlement agreement filed in the United States District Court for the District of Arizona in AIIL versus Sessions 419 CB 00481 or any substantially similar civil action brought by an individual as a result of an action taken to enforce the memorandum of the Attorney General entitled Zero Tolerance for Offenses under 8 U.S.C. 1325 Section A and dated April 6, 2018. This is what all bills in Congress should look like. With the exception of the header, it's not even a full page. Now, will this see the light of day? No, probably not. But it's out there at least. Now Boebert will lose her committee assignments. From the Telegraph. With With Kamala Harris looking unelectable, the Democrats are considering the nuclear option. From Rosina Sabur and Nick Allen. This is fun. I love this article. I was so glad I found this before we went live this morning. Democrats have desperately scrambling to find a potential successor to Biden in 2024 are whispering about a potential nuclear option that could see Kamala Harris, the current vice president, nominated to the Supreme Court. While the scenario is highly improbable and perhaps a reflection of Washington rumor mill in overdrive, the fact that it's come up at all shows the depths of the predicament the Biden admin currently finds itself in amid rising inflation, a stalled domestic agenda, and foreign policy disasters. Polls are now regularly showing Mr. Biden's approval rating below 40%, and panic set in at the White House after a recent poll put Kamala Harris at an unelectable 28%. Behind-the-scenes discussions of how Democrats could arrive at a third option for the next election are underway. Operatives are preparing for the possibility of a contested presidential primary in which other would-be nominees take on Ms. Harris, but that could be damaging for the party. The left-field Supreme Court theory would mean Mr. Biden nominating Ms. Harris, a former high-flying persecutor, if a seat on the court became available over the next 3 years, which it may well. Mr. Biden could then use Section 2 of the 25th Amendment to nominate a more popular vice president. That person would be the presumptive Democrat nominee should Mr. Biden not run for re-election at the age of 82. If Mr. Biden steps down before November of 2024, the new vice president, under Section 1 of the 25th Amendment, would assume the presidency and be able to run as an incumbent. It is, of course, all wildly hypothetical, but still constitutionally feasible. The idea of a Supreme Court nomination for Ms. Harris was first reported by CNN, which, while calling it an Aaron Sorkin-style rumor, a reference to the creator of The West Wing, said the chatter has already reached the top levels of the Biden orbit. Ms. Harris was in the frame for a nomination to the Supreme Court by Barack Obama in 2016, but wanted to run for the U.S. Senate instead. There's no precedent for the sitting vice president being nominated to the Supreme Court. However, Erwin Chemerinsky, the dean of the University of California at Berkeley Law, said, "I do not see any impediment to a sitting vice president being nominated for the Supreme Court." If the unlikely theory were to play out, Ms. Harris would need to be confirmed to the court by a simple majority in the Senate, which is split 50-50, and where she herself currently holds the casting vote as vice president. Yeah, I don't see any of this going over very well. But that's where we're coming from off of this, and they got to do something. If they hope to compete in 2024, which I think the hope is gone by this point, but if they hope in any way, shape, or form to compete for 2024, it's time. It's time to do something else. Because this ain't working. From the Hill. Poll, Harris, Michelle Obama lead for 2024 if Biden doesn't run.
I need some music.
Vice President Harris and former First Lady Michelle Obama are in the lead for a 2024 presidential run if President Biden decides not to try for a second term. A new Hill-Harris-X poll found. The poll found Harris in the lead among likely candidates with 13% of respondents supporting her. Michelle Obama came in second at 10%. All the other candidates listed received 5% or less support, with most voters surveyed still unsure of who they would back if Biden chooses not to run. Other candidates in the poll included presidential hopefuls Bernie Sanders, Warren, Booker, Bloomberg, Yang, and Buttplug. 36% said they were unsure who they would vote for, while 13% said they would choose someone who was not on the list. So these are the presumptive frontrunners, and they both lost to none of the above. I don't think this is quite the news you want it to be. This is like that dumb fuck Sarwark up in New Hampshire who tried to run for office and lost, or I'm sorry, for LP royalty and lost to none of the above. You've literally lost to none of the above. Good job. All right, let's move on to local. What's going on locally? School official prevents students from attending book club event with author who survived ISIS sex slavery over concerns it would foster Islamophobia. From Chris Enlow. The largest school board in Canada reportedly banned students from attending a book club event with Nadia Murad, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, who miraculously survived being kidnapped by the Islamic State as a teenager and forced into sex slavery. Murad was slated to participate in a book club event with students from the Toronto District School Board in February 2022 upon the release of her new book, The Last Girl, The Story of My Captivity and My Fight Against the Islamic State, which chronicles her story of being sold into sex slavery at age 14 by Islamic terrorists. However, Helen Fisher, the superintendent of the Toronto District School Board, said students would not be allowed to attend the event, citing concerns that Murad's book would offend students and foster Islamophobia, according to The Telegraph. In response, Tanya Lee, who organizes the book club, emailed Fisher information about ISIS. This is what Islamic State means, Lee wrote Fisher. It's a terrorist organization, has nothing to do with ordinary Muslims. The TDSB should be aware of the district. According to The Telegraph, Fisher responded to Lee's email by sending her a copy of the book's school board's policy on selecting equitable, culturally relevant and responsive reading material. Lee told The Telegraph, the book club's event for a room of your own book club with Nadia Murad will go ahead across Canada in February. The TDSB has not committed to letting their students attend. This is unfortunate for all involved, a great loss to the students, community, and educators at the TDSB. The school board withdrawing their support means that they are not putting their students first, only their administration. Nadia Murad is a Nobel Peace Prize winning author and human rights activist. We have so much to learn from her about the triumph of the human spirit and the will and the ability to help others overcome tragedy. Nadia and her activism is an example to us all in all societies around the world. But it might be racist. These people might know what actually goes on in Islamic countries under their totalitarian regimes. All right, from the New York Post. Video shows Texas man shoot partner's ex amid heated child custody battle. From Joshua Rhett Miller. Do we have the video? That's going to be the first question. Let me refresh this quick and just see if it plays. Yep, we're going to get video from this. Warning, graphic content. This comes to us out of the Discord from Ron Hilton.
I'll go get him. I'm supposed to have him at 3:15. And you're playing games telling me that I can pick him up at 6. I'm going to have the cops. I already got the cops on the way to your mom's house. Because that's probably where he is. It's not when I'm done working. I get him at 3:15. I get him at 3:15. I don't care if you wanted to see him or not. I get him at 3:15. If you want to see him, you see him up until 3:15. You keep trying to keep my son from me. I'm fixing to drag you and Anne-Marie and everybody else into court. I'm subpoenaing your mom. I'm subpoenaing Anne-Marie. This is on video. I'm very glad. Leave! Do it right now. You better use it, mother. Good God, David, I'll take it from you.
Call the police. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. I have it on video, Kyle. You did it, not him.
I told all of y'all to leave.
We came to get his son.
He's not here.
She should have told that. She should have told that.
None of y'all should be here. None of y'all should be here. I asked you to leave. I did everything. I did not want to do any of this.
911. Call forensics about my husband.
Okay, well, that's what happened there. Texas man fatally shot his partner's ex-husband during a bitter ongoing child custody dispute, disturbing video shows. The cell phone footage released Tuesday by attorney for Chad Reed's widow depicts the deadly November 5th confrontation between the 54-year-old victim and Kyle Carruth outside of his Lubbock home. Okay, we can turn that off now. The clip shows Chad Reed arguing with his ex-wife, Christina, before Carruth emerges from his home with a rifle, setting off the deadly confrontation on the front porch. Carruth's lawyer insists the shooting was self-defense, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal reported. I can actually see that, because he did advance on him. Reed's widow, Jennifer, is seeking custody of her late husband's two boys, 9 and 14, as she believes Christina Reed and Kyle Carruth intended to get married as soon as possible, according to the report. No charges or arrests have been made in the fatal shooting as of Friday. According to the newspaper, the shooter has been listed as a suspect in the police reports, but hasn't been publicly identified by cops. But civil court records identified the gunman as Carruth, a land developer and estranged husband of Anne Marie Carruth, a judge in Lubbock and Crosby counties, according to the newspaper. Anne Marie Carruth said in an affidavit she was notified that Carruth is being investigated for the killing of the father of his girlfriend's children after Reed attempted to pick them up at Carruth's home. An attorney for Jennifer Reed then released the footage of the November 5th shooting on Wednesday, saying it had an accompanying affidavit speaks for themselves. I'm the stepmother of the children, and this is the subject of the suit, Jennifer Reed's affidavit read. The mother of the children, Christina Reed, has endangered the physical health and emotional well-being of the children by permitting them to be in the presence of the man that murdered their father, Chad Reed. That's going to get complicated. That is actually going to get complicated as far as the structure of the home. Because there is going to be some leftoid judge or civil lawyer or something out there who's going to come out and say, well, they shouldn't be able to be in a home with a gun that murdered their father. Oh my God. I had not watched this before this. I watched the video just now with you guys. Guy was being aggressed upon, even with the gun in hand. The father of the children did go back and go after somebody who had a gun with him. He got Darwined. So, that's what I saw for this. This is a self-defense case. It sucks, it blows, but this is a self-defense case. And now the only thing that I have to question now is whether or not there will be CPS involved, which there should be. Alright, what else do we have here? From Newsweek, Salvation Army's donors withdraw support in response to racial wokeness initiative. From Carly Mayberry. The Salvation Army launches its Red Kettle campaign this holiday season. Some of its longtime donors are withdrawing the support from the 156-year-old charitable organization, citing its newly embraced woke ideology as the reason. Of great concern to loyal supporters and faithful Salvationists is the initiative dubbed Let's Talk About Racism. In a nutshell, its curriculum outlines the Christian Church's alleged racial collusion and provides action steps to analyze and combat racism through an anti-racist lens while incorporating critical race theory. See, this is why I bet all the charities that I put into, and as much as I see the Red Kettle, then I used to put into the Red Kettle before I knew better. And now I won't. I will avoid them. They can sit out there and ring that bell until the ringer on the inside falls off. It's shit like this that I will not put a dime into the Salvation Army. I will find a smaller, more independent charity to work with. Definitions of institutional and systemic racism are included, while real or perceived differences in life outcomes. Inequities are attributable not to individual effort and other circumstances, but to discrimination. Sections address topics including police brutality, healthcare, and black unemployment, linking to such topics to racial inequity. Dude, seriously. Salvation Army, I don't need to know your politics. And you know they're only doing this right now because they want to get those sweet, sweet donations. Because a lot of the people who are walking around, especially in the bigger cities where they're running from, just want the government to take care of the donations and everything else out of it. They don't want charity. And if there's no charity, then the Salvation Army can't take 25% off the top. So, no more dimes to the Salvation Army. That's not happening. From Politico. Supreme Court to consider GOP lawmakers' right to defend North Carolina voter law. From Josh Gerstein. The Supreme Court has agreed to take up a fight over whether Republican state legislators are entitled to defend North Carolina's voter identification law in court. The North Carolinian state legislators claim that their state's Democratic attorneys general is unlikely to offer a defense of the law robust enough to preserve it. Attorneys in our office have worked diligently on behalf of the state throughout the case and will continue to do so. Nazneen Ahmed, a spokesperson for North Carolina AG Josh Stein, sent an email to Politico. The justices on Wednesday granted a request from the GOP state Senate and House leaders to take up federal appeals court ruling that denied their request to intervene in a suit to the state's chapter of the NAACP brought against the voter ID law. That move means the arguments in the case will likely be scheduled at the Supreme Court early next year, with a decision expected by June or July. The dispute is one several that have reached the High Court in recent years, where litigants complained the state officials were not doing enough to defend the statute, or had essentially conceded that it was unconstitutional. The legal questions the justices agreed to consider do not include the validity of the underlying voter ID law passed by North Carolina legislature in 2018, following a referendum where voters amended the state's constitution to require identification when voting. The three-judge Fourth Circuit panel initially sided with GOP legislative leaders, but the full bench of the Federal Appeals Court agreed to reconsider the issue and ultimately voted 9-6 to uphold the ruling denying the legislators' request to intervene. In a separate lawsuit in September, a three-judge state trial court voted 2-1 to invalidate the law, with the majority concluding that its passage was racially motivated. See, this is part of the problem too, and they're trying to make this into a racial thing out of this so they can come back and pull sympathy from the judges up on top here. This is number one. The Supreme Court has no reason to be into this. Neither does the Federal Appeals Court. Voting rights and voting restrictions are done. Regulation for voting is done on a state level per Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. The U.S. cannot draft or deny in either direction a voter ID law to an individual state. They can't make a national voter ID, and they can't deny a state the ability to make a voter ID. Neither one of those two things are constitutional. The Voting Rights Act, too, by the way, is unconstitutional, for the same reason. Yes, I understand it did good things, but it's still unconstitutional. And what's going on with this, and where we're going with this, and what's happening with this is now, this was voted for overwhelmingly by the people of North Carolina. The people of North Carolina want this in the majority. And this is the vocal minority trying to come back out and change something off of this. This was overwhelmingly supported by voters in North Carolina. But it's racist or something. And they're doing everything they can to try to come back and pull this back out of here. In spite of the fact it's enshrined in the Constitution. From CNN, Matthew McConaughey will not run for Texas governor. From Raja Razak and Paul LeBlanc. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. Actually, probably not. Haven't seen that movie, by the way. Know what it comes from, haven't seen the movie. I know, you're shocked. Actor Matthew McConaughey announced Sunday that a future in political leadership is not in the cards right now. After acknowledging that he had taken the time exploring politics and considered a run for the governor of Texas, McConaughey said in a video message on Twitter that he's decided to focus his efforts in the private sector. As a simple kid born in the little town of Uvalde, Texas, it never occurred to me that I would one day be considered for political leadership. It's humbling and inspiring path to ponder. It is also a path I'm choosing not to take at this moment, he said. The decision brings an end to months of speculation about McConaughey's political ambitions in Texas after he publicly signaled interest in launching a gubernatorial campaign. The Dallas Buyers Club actor, who grew up in Texas, would have been something of a political wildcard and was shaping up to be one of the most high-profile contests in 2022. I'm measuring it, he said, of running for office on a podcast in September. Look, it's going to be in some capacity. I'm more of a folksy and philosopher, poet, statesman than I am a per se definitive politician. He continued. So I go, well, that's a reason not to, but then I go, no, that's exactly why you should, because politics need redefinition, but I'm measuring, what is my category? What's my embassy? Beto paid him a bunch of money to get out of the race, I'm betting. So, he's not going to run. Another white pill for us. Watch, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson gave his own custom pickup truck to a Navy vet. There it is. There we've got the video.
Thank you for your service, brother. Enjoy your new What the heck is happening? Get out of here, bro! Oh my god!
You do a lot of good for people, man. It's gonna be fun. Ladies and gentlemen. How you guys doing? There's a dude here, I read his story, and I was really impressed with his story too. I want to highlight him. His name is Oscar Rodriguez. Where are you, Oscar?
Get out of here, bro.
Oscar, come on down. Good to see you, brother.
Nice to meet you, bro. Wow. Dude,
wow. It's good to meet you, man. Well, your story really moved me because I hear that you're a personal trainer, right? You're always keeping it positive and motivational and optimistic. You're a leader in your church, Westside Church.
Absolutely, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you support and you help make meals for women victims who've been abused by domestic violence.
Yes.
That's a really amazing work. I love that. You take care of your mom who's 75. Come on, man. Mama's boys.
I'm just speechless. I did not even know this was even going to happen. This is such a blessing. Man, it's so good to meet you. I feel so encouraged right now, so uplifted. You're the man, dude, and I appreciate it. I follow you on Instagram. I listen to your words. I'm encouraged by your motivation. Obviously, you inspire so many people, inspire me. And yeah, man, let's do it. Let's change the world one person at a time. You know?
This is what I say, like kindness matters. It matters, man. Kindness matters. On behalf of me and my family, and I'm sure I can speak for everybody here, is thank you for your service. Your Navy brother. 3
hugs, bro. 3.
Come here, dude. I want to show you something real quick.
Yes.
Dude, I got this. I wrote this card for you. It's a little thing.
What the heck? Thank you for your service, brother. Enjoy your new What the heck is happening? Get out of here, bro! Oh my god!
You do a lot of good for people, man. You do a lot of good for people.
I thought this was your truck, bro.
It is my truck.
What do you mean?
Now it's your
What
truck.
are you talking about?
This is my personal truck. It's yours now.
Yo, what the heck?
Here, start her up.
Yo, I can't tell you how many times I see you in this truck.
This is my baby. You do a lot of good for people, brother. The gym, the church, your mom, women. Women who need that support, who are going through it.
This is amazing. Yo, my girlfriend's gonna trip. Look. No, hey, put the video. Put the camera back on. Look who I'm hanging out with.
Hey!
All right. We watched almost the entire video. I like The Rock. I think that as far as private charity goes, I think that he does well for that. He is a bit communistic in his ideals. He has gone, well, he's taken the Hollywood pill off of this, but he still has an appreciation for the private charity of things. I can give him that much because, you know, it could be the government provides this guy for, you know, your vehicle for what you do, to each according to his own. But, you know, The Rock steps up and does it for himself. Comes out to try to make the world better off this. And just from looking at what they've said in the video, now, of course, as was mentioned in the chat, they're probably going to come out and find all the bad things that this guy's ever done in his life. And we'll find out that he's not as good of a person as he is. But just from the introduction off of this, it does sound like, on the surface, this guy really deserved to have something good happen for him. And I don't know if this is going to be something like where he was struggling along somewhere or something else like that, but I guess we'll see. But I thought this was a white pill. I thought this really was. All right. We got just 4 more, and then we'll do one of the rules of acquisition and head out of here for the day. Which, by the way, I am apparently a Ferengi according to my political compass test. My 8-axis test. Exclusive, Notre Dame interior faces woke Disney revamp. Critics aghast at plans seen by the Telegraph for Christianity for Dummies trail inside Notre Dame, from Henry Samuel of Paris and Tim Stanley. Paris's fire-ravaged Notre Dame Cathedral risks resembling a politically correct Disneyland under controversial plans for its renovation as seen by the Telegraph. Critics have warned that the world-famous cathedral will be turned into an experimental showroom under plans to dramatically change the inside of the medieval building. Under the proposed changes, confessional boxes, altars, and classical sculptures will be replaced with modern art, murals, and new sound and light effects to create emotional spaces. It will be themed chapels on Discovery Trail, which, with an emphasis on Africa and Asia, while quotes from the Bible will be projected onto the chapel walls in various languages, including Mandarin. The final chapel on the trail will have a strong environmental It's as if Disney were entering the Notre Dame, said Maurice Kula, a prize-winning Paris-based architect, urbanist, theorist, and a critic who has seen the plans. What they're proposing to do to Notre Dame would have never been done to Westminster Abbey or St. Peter's in Rome. It's kind of like a theme park and very childish and trivial given the grandeur of the place, he told the Telegraph. A senior source close to the renovation said the plans risk turning the global beacon of Christianity into an experimental showroom that would mutilate the work of Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, or Leduc rather, the celebrated architect who restored the cathedral following the ravages of the French Revolution in an effort to recapture the spirit of medieval Christianity. Can you imagine the administration of the Holy See allowing something like this in the Sistine Chapel? Said the senior source with access to the latest plans. It would be unimaginable. We are not in an empty space here. Yeah, honestly, I would rather see professional art restorers bring back as much as they could of the original. I'm sure there's plenty of photos, plenty of paintings, plenty of work to work with. It's not like nobody had ever been into this place and it's a clean slate like they said. I don't mind putting a little bit of modern back in here, a little bit of modern twist, but not to the level that they're talking about with the plans. You know, a little bit of new stuff in here to go with the old. But we still need to keep some of the classic history of this. This has been a shining beacon forever. But it's Paris, so what do you expect? Another one from the Discord. Thank you to Ron Helton. Mass demonstrations in Yemen rejecting U.S. aggression and siege. From Al Mayadeen Net. Popular demonstrations took place in Sada and other Yemeni governorates under the slogan, U.S. is behind military and economic escalation and the continuation of the aggression and siege on Yemen. Street protests were held this morning in the governorates of Taiz, Hajjah, Amran, Al-Baida, Rayman, Ib, and Sada, with the organizing committee urging Yemenis in various regions and governorates to take part in mass rallies against the U.S. military escalation. Yeah, could we maybe do that over here? Turn down some of the military escalation? In this regard, Brigadier Abdullah bin Ammar, Deputy Director of the Yemeni Ministry of Defense Moral Guidance Department in Sana'a, confirmed that the department will document American role in the aggression against Yemen. The documentation effort will focus on U.S. supplied weapons, logistical support, management of air operations, and steps that confirm that the aggression coalition's administration is American par excellence. Ibn Amr continued. He pointed out that confessions made by Americans, including members of the U.S. Congress, in addition to several reports issued during the past years, confirmed the U.S. role in the aggression on Yemen. Ibn Amr explained that the Department of Moral Guidance assumes this responsibility within its national duties during this historical stage, noting the importance of this initiative given the U.S. is actively attempting to hide behind its proxies in the region. Earlier, a major demonstration took place in the coastal governorate of Al-Hudaydah, Western Yemen, to protest the killing of 10 Army and Popular Committee prisoners by numerous Saudi coalition troops, as well as the mutilation of their bodies on the western coast. Yeah, that alliance with Saudi Arabia, that's gonna come back and bite everybody back in the ass. So, could that be the next place that we go? Our next military adventuring in the Middle East? Go protect that great ally, Saudi Arabia. While we're also in the middle of dealing with Russia, Ukraine, and China, Taiwan. Buy that stock in Raytheon, folks. You'll be happy if you did. Not official financial advice. From akathimarini.com, Lira collapses, leaves Turks bewildered. From East Tokebi, Tuvan Gumruku. Anxious Turks struggle to keep up with the bewildering collapse in their currency, and the main opposition party leader said the country was experiencing its darkest catastrophe as the lira slumped 15% on Tuesday against the dollar. Tuesday's meltdown follows weeks of steep falls in the lira, which have already driven up prices, leaving ordinary Turks reconsidering everything from their holiday plans to weekly grocery shopping. There has not been much catastrophe in the history of the Republic, said Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, leader of the opposition Republican People's Party, blaming the currency freefall on President Tayyip Erdogan, who has led the country since '03. At this point, you're a national fundamental security problem for the Republic of Turkey, Kılıçdaroğlu said. Erdogan has pressured the central bank to slash interest rates in a move that he says will boost exports, investment, and jobs, but which critics say will further fuel double-digit inflation and erode the lira, cutting deeply into Turks' earnings. Shoppers at a central Ankara mall said they would not take their eyes off the lira rate, which plunged as far as $13.45 to the dollar on Tuesday. A year ago, it was 8 to the dollar. Last month, it reached 9, and last week, it hit 10. I become able to work without following the dollar, said the 20-year-old advertising agency worker Celine. I don't think there's a single day where I don't have to watch my budget, and the calculation changes 100 times by the time I get next month's salary. There's nothing left, including toilet paper, and I buy that I buy without thinking carefully. Former Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu, a founding member of Erdogan's ruling Islamist-rooted AK party, before breaking away to form his own party, described the president's economic measures as treason and not ignorance. So, Turkey, the crossroads into the Middle East, into Asia, from Europe, is also suffering right now. I guess the Byzantines probably could have been doing better at this point. And I mean, it's coming so far as they actually have a ticker posted. What their dollar is worth, what their money is worth versus the euro, the US dollar, and various other currencies around the world. Because their economy is that precarious. And that's going to be an interesting one, because yeah, that's the major trade route. That is one of the big ones. All right, and the last one we'll do here before we do one of the rules of acquisition here. Sweden's first ever female prime minister resigns just hours after her appointment. From Sam Meredith. Sweden's first ever female prime minister, Social Democrat Magdalena Andersson, has resigned just hours after being appointed, deepening political uncertainty. Andersson said Wednesday that she was forced to resign after her budget bill failed and the Green Party quit their two-party coalition against the government. She had been announced as leader earlier in the day to a standing ovation by some sectors of the parliament. Instead, lawmakers to the Riksdag voted in favor of a budget tabled by the opposition that includes the anti-immigration right-wing party of the Sweden Democrats. Andersson told reporters she hoped to be reappointed prime minister as the head of a single-party government. I have asked the speaker to be relieved of my duties as prime minister, Andersson told a media conference. I am ready to be prime minister in a single-party social democrat government. The Green Party and the Socialist Left Party have both said they are prepared to support the reappointment of Andersson, who previously served as finance minister for 7 years under her predecessor, Stefan Löfven. Sweden's Center Party, meanwhile, has said it would abstain, which effectively paves the way for Andersson to get the top job once again. The parties have been unable to approve a budget bill in a fragmented political landscape, but they are seen to be united in the aim of preventing the Sweden Democrats from having a role in the government. Magdalena Andersson stands by her word to deliver on the agreement we have concluded, and the Center Party will release her as Prime Minister, Annie Lööf, leader of the country's Center Party, said on Wednesday via Twitter. We are now making sure, once again, that Sweden can have government that is not dependent on the Sweden Democrats, she added. Yeah, and that's the thing, is if you don't think that I wouldn't re-elect her if it was me. I wouldn't reappoint her if it was me. If she looks at this and says, fuck this, I can't do it, and get out of there. Now, I don't understand prime ministry. I tried to figure it out listening to the 6 video from the other day. I don't understand it. I don't get it. How this works and how they need to have a ruling council off of this, and how they even spent money without a budget because they can't come back and approve a budget. But of course, I mean, what's it been since that we've had an actual budget in this country? Not omnibus spending packages left and right. I don't know. I don't know what this means for Sweden. I think it's hilarious. that the first female ever looks at this, says, "Fuck this," and throws in the towel. That probably didn't do well for prospects of future female leadership in your country. I'm sorry. All right, that's all that I have for the news today. We are at 2.5 hours. But of course, the last thing we do on a Monday is one of the rules of acquisition. So let's get that in here and let's see what we have for today. Somebody mentioned the 47th rule of acquisition, but we're not quite there yet. We are on the 37th rule of acquisition for this week. I just want to remind everybody, by the way, why this is important. Here's my 8 values test, the results of that. And according to this, I am an ultra-capitalist. Which means throw on the big ears and the prosthetic back of the head and the ridged nose. Because I am going to the Golden Treasury. And I hope that they will let me in. I was really not surprised by that. But we will read the 37th rule of acquisition now. And the early investor reaps the most interest. That's actually not bad off of this. And I mean, the early investor also carries the most risk. That's one thing that goes along with early investment and things that go along with that. If you invest early in something and you don't know where it's going to go, it could tank and you could lose everything, like me and Shibu. Or you could come out 4 digits ahead of where you were, 3 digits ahead of where you were, like me and Dogecoin. I was quite happy with how my Dogecoin turned out. I'm not quite as happy with how my Shibu turned out, but I was quite happy with how my Dogecoin turned out. And that's an interesting one to go off of this. Now, I will be remembering, by the way, and I do have the names written down of everybody who invested already in the GoFundMe that we're shutting down off of this. Because if we do wind up going public, want those people to have some actual stake in the company. If we clear the red, get out of the red, get into the black. And I'll remember that. And those are the early investors, the people who will get something back up out of this, who helped get this all started and ready to go. And of course, my goal with Turn Some Pages is to make sure that the people like Stephen Ignoramus, John, Seawall, Midget B, Freckles, Britt, Wyatt, RRC, Mrs. RRC, I want to make sure that those people never have to want for anything again for the rest of their lives. That's what I want to get out of this. And they are early investors. They've come over from the Freedom Scoop crew. They are the earliest investors. Before we even had the idea of a website, when I was first calling around and saying, hey, I want to do this. Do you guys want to still be on board if we part ways with Freedom Scoop? They said yes. They're the earliest investors, but there's also been financial off of this. The early investor does reap the most interest, good or bad. And yes, this could all drop in a flaming pile of failure. But enjoy the ride. Or this could come off to success. And we could come out and see news from the working man for the working man. Definitely. It was the same thing with Tesla. You know, years ago, people looked at this and said, what the fuck is this guy doing? Nobody's going to want electric cars, and now everybody wants electric cars to the point that the government wants to mandate electric cars. There's so much investment out there. Some of it's going to carry risk. Some of it's going to carry reward. Some of it's going to carry loss. But the earliest investors will have the most interest. And that's what I have for today. Let's change up the scene. Let's head out of here for the morning. Where's my outro music? Oh, I had to restart my computer, so I have no outro music up here yet. Let's get that changed and let's get this going. All right, so we're out of here. We're going to go over, if you're over on the Twitch side, stick around. We will go and raid Mr. Ignoramus over there on the Daily Ignoramus. Sorry we took up an hour of his time and the audience there, but do stick around. Come back and hang out with us as we go over there. And go see probably one of my favorite human beings off in the world, I'm not going to lie. Otherwise, we'll be back here later on tonight, 5:30 Central Time, for the Zed and Ed Show. Katie Zed, once again, coming back and helping out last minute, as the jury duty selection has passed me over. I don't have to go back and take time out of my day to go do that. So come back and join us for that as we round up the news for the week, including the Omicron variant, the Arbery trial results, the Rittenhouse aftermath, and the Crystal Kaiser thing. She really wants to talk about that, so we will talk just a bit about what's going on there. Otherwise, we'll be back here bright and early, before this morning, obviously, because I hope we won't have as much news to cover tomorrow, but we'll be back here bright and early tomorrow morning for more Contemporary. And until then, we'll see you then. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.